The keys don't feel like his. The keys in his hands right now. A Toyota Camry key fob, 2019, the plastic housing cracked on one corner, a keychain with a grocery store loyalty card, and a small photo of a boy in a soccer uniform. These keys belonged to a guest who handed them through the driver's window without looking at him. The guest said, "Be careful with it," the way guests say, "Be careful with it" to valets, which is the way people speak to the staff at hotels, with the assumption that the instruction is necessary, that the person receiving the keys needs to be reminded that the car has value, as if the valet, who has been parking cars for 3 years and has never scratched a fender or curbed a wheel, might forget that a car is a thing worth protecting. His name is Kessler Rohan. He's 52 years old. He is the chairman and CEO of Belmonte Hospitality Group, a luxury hotel company headquartered in Scottsdale, Arizona, that owns and operates 14 boutique hotels across 8 states, employs 4,600 people, and generates $820 million in annual revenue. The flagship property, the Belmonte Palomar, a 340-room luxury hotel in downtown Phoenix, charges $419 per night for a standard room, $1,200 for a suite, and $4,600 for the penthouse. The hotel has a Forbes 5-star rating. The hotel has a rooftop pool with cabanas that cost $350 per day to rent. The hotel has a lobby with a 22-foot waterfall made of reclaimed copper and a concierge desk staffed by 3 people in tailored suits who speak a combined total of 9 languages. The hotel also has a valet stand with 4 valets who earn $11.75 per hour, plus tips. Kessler's mother, Marisol, cleaned hotel rooms. Not at the Belmonte, at a Holiday Inn Express on the I-10 corridor outside Tucson for 17 years, from the time Kessler was 6 until he left for college at 23. Marisol cleaned 14 rooms per shift. She cleaned them in the way that hotel housekeepers clean rooms, with a speed that looks like automation and a thoroughness that looks like care and a body that absorbs the work the way a sponge absorbs water, silently, completely, until the saturation becomes pain, and the pain becomes the baseline. And the baseline is what you feel when you stand up in the morning and your back says no, and your knees say no, and your hands say no, and you go to work anyway, because the rooms don't clean themselves, and the paycheck doesn't arrive without the rooms. Marisol never stayed in a hotel, not once. She cleaned 14 rooms a day for 17 years, 85,000 rooms approximately over the span of a career, and she never lay down on a bed she had made. She never ordered room service. She never hung a robe on the bathroom door and stood on the heated tile in bare feet and felt what the guest feels, which is the product that the hotel sells. The feeling of being taken care of, the feeling of arriving somewhere and having everything handled, the sheets pressed and the towels folded and the minibar stocked and the temperature adjusted and the world, for one night, arranged around your comfort. Kessler built Belmonte on Marisol's rooms. That was the origin, not the business plan, not the investor pitch, but the origin. A boy sitting in the back seat of a Dodge Caravan in the parking lot of a Holiday Inn Express, doing homework while his mother cleaned rooms, watching the guests walk through the lobby in clothes that his mother pressed at home the night before, and wondering why the people who make the hotel work never get to feel what the hotel feels like. He remembers the smell, not the lobby, the cart. Marisol's housekeeping cart had a smell that was bleach and lemon cleaner, and the fabric softener sheets that she tucked into the linen stacks, and the particular chemical sweetness of the all-purpose spray that she used on bathroom counters, and that got into her skin and stayed there. She came home smelling like the cart. She showered, and she still smelled like the cart. The smell was in her clothes, in her hair, in the fibers of the caravan's driver's seat where she sat for the 14-minute commute home. The smell was the smell of 14 rooms. The smell was the smell of work that guests consume and forget, and that workers carry in their bodies. Marisol had rules. She had rules about the rooms, and she had rules about Kessler, and the rules were the same. Do the work correctly, do the work completely, and never let anyone see the effort. The rooms looked effortless when Marisol finished them. The beds crisp, the towels folded into fans, the toilet paper triangle that the hotel required, and that Marisol executed with the precision of a surgeon, because the triangle was the detail, and the detail was the standard, and the standard was the thing that separated a clean room from a cleaned room. A clean room is a room that is clean. A cleaned room is a room that a person made clean. And the distinction matters, because a cleaned room contains labor and a clean room erases it, and the hotel's business model depends on the erasure. The guest doesn't want to see the labor. The guest wants to see the result. Marisol was invisible by design. She retired at 61. Her knees were replaced, both of them, the left at 57 and the right at 59, the particular joint deterioration that develops in people who spend 17 years on hard floors, pushing carts and bending over bathtubs and kneeling to scrub baseboards. The knees were the cost. The cost was never on the hotel's balance sheet. The cost was on Marisol's body and Marisol's insurance and the workers' compensation claim that she never filed, because filing a claim was, in Marisol's understanding of the world, a complaint. And Marisol did not complain. Marisol worked. He started the company at 30 with a single property, a run-down motor lodge on Camelback Road in Phoenix that he converted into a 32-room boutique hotel with a design concept he called Desert Modern. The motor lodge cost him everything: his savings, a second mortgage, an SBA loan that required Marisol to co-sign. Marisol signed. She signed the way she did everything, without complaint, without hesitation. The motor lodge became the Belmonte Camelback. The Camelback became the template. 14 properties later, the template is a company, and the company is an empire, and the empire is built on the principle that Kessler articulated in the first employee handbook. Every person who works at a Belmonte hotel is part of the experience. The guest doesn't distinguish between the concierge and the housekeeper. The service is one thing. Treat every employee the way we treat the guest. Asterisk. The employee survey arrived 7 weeks ago. Guest satisfaction, 94%. Employee satisfaction, 28%. The gap, 66 points between how the guests feel and how the staff feels, is the width of the lie that every luxury hotel tells, that the experience is seamless, that the service is effortless, that the magic of hospitality simply happens. The magic doesn't happen. It is performed by people who earn $11.75 an hour, and who park in a lot behind the dumpsters, and who enter through a service corridor that smells like kitchen grease, and who change into uniforms in a locker room that has not been renovated since 2014. "Walk in through the service entrance," said Nadia Ferris, the VP of People Operations, a woman who had been in hotel HR for 20 years, and who understood that the distance between the lobby waterfall and the employee locker room is not measured in feet, but in dollars. Don't walk in through the lobby. Walk in the way the staff walks in. Park where the staff parks, change where the staff changes. Then go stand at the valet stand and park cars for a week. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from today, because this is the story of a billionaire who handed his keys to a valet every week for 20 years, and then stood in the valet's shoes to find out what happens after the car disappears. Monday, 5:45 p.m. Kessler parks his personal car, not the Range Rover, a rented Nissan Altima, in the employee lot behind the Belmonte Palomar. The employee lot is behind the building, past the loading dock and the dumpster corral and the grease trap that the kitchen exhausts into and that produces the smell that the employees walk through every day and that the guests never encounter, because the guest entrance is on the opposite side of the building, oriented toward the fountain and the porte cochere and the copper waterfall that cost $400,000. The employee entrance is a steel door with a keycard reader. No fountain, no waterfall. The door opens into a concrete corridor, the service hallway that runs the length of the building, connecting the kitchen to the laundry to the loading dock to the maintenance shop. The corridor is lit by fluorescent tubes. The floor is sealed concrete. The walls are painted cinder block, the color somewhere between gray and beige, the color of institutional indifference. The corridor is the hotel's circulatory system, the passage through which the staff moves, the supplies move, the dirty linens move, and it looks like the back of a machine, which is exactly what it is. Kessler changes in the employee locker room. The locker room has 40 lockers for 112 staff on the PM shift. The math, 40 lockers for 112 people, means the lockers are shared, which means Kessler opens locker 23 and finds someone else's deodorant and someone else's phone charger, and someone else's spare shoes. The intimate artifacts of a person who shares a metal box with a stranger because the hotel that charges $4,600 per night for a penthouse provides 40 lockers for 112 employees. His badge says Kent Riggs, Valet, PM shift. He's wearing the valet uniform, black pants, white dress shirt, black vest, black tie. The uniform is provided by the hotel and laundered by the hotel, and the uniform looks sharp. Belmonte's valet staff looks like $1 million, which is the point, which is the brand. The vest does not have pockets. This is a design choice. The brand guidelines specify that the valet uniform should present a clean silhouette, and pockets disrupt the silhouette, and the silhouette is more important than the valet's need to carry a phone or a wallet or a set of keys. So the valets have no pockets. They carry everything in their hands, or they leave it in the locker room, or they tuck their phone into their waistband, which is a violation of the dress code. Most break it. The phone is the lifeline, the babysitter, the doctor, the school, the pharmacy, the connection to the life that exists outside the vest. If this story has touched your heart, take a moment to share it and subscribe to Untold Hearts, because sometimes the person who opens your car door is carrying more than your keys. The valet stand is a podium at the edge of the porte cochere, positioned between the fountain and the entrance. 4 valets work the PM shift, Kessler and 3 others. The lead valet is a woman named Pilar Matos. She is 31 years old, compact and fast, with her hair pulled back in a tight bun that meets the grooming standard, and small gold earrings that she removes at the start of every shift. Because the grooming standard doesn't allow earrings, and the earrings were a gift from her son, and she puts them in her locker and retrieves them at the end of every shift, the daily ritual of setting aside the personal for the professional. Pilar has been a valet at the Belmonte Palomar for 3 years. She makes $11.75 per hour. With tips, she averages $16 to $19 per hour, depending on the night, depending on the guests, depending on the specific alchemy of weather and mood and generosity that determines whether a guest hands you a 5 or a 20 or nothing. The tips are not guaranteed. The tips are the margin, the difference between the wage the hotel pays and the wage the job requires, the gap that the guest fills voluntarily and that the valet depends on involuntarily. Pilar has a son. His name is Mateo. He is 7. He has asthma, the persistent kind, the kind that requires a daily controller inhaler and a rescue inhaler, and the kind of vigilance that parents of asthmatic children develop, the constant monitoring of breath sounds and weather patterns and air quality indexes, and the distance to the nearest pharmacy. Mateo's controller inhaler, a corticosteroid, the standard first-line treatment, costs $340 for a 30-day supply without insurance. Pilar's insurance, the hotel's employee health plan, has a pharmacy benefit with a $75 copay for brand-name medications, $75 once a month. $75 is 4.5 hours of base pay. $75 is approximately 4 good tips. $75 is the difference between Mateo breathing easily and Mateo not breathing easily, and the difference arrives as a bill on the 23rd of every month with the regularity of a second rent. The second valet is a man named Raz, mid-20s, tall, quiet, who moves through the porte cochere with the long stride of someone who has calculated the exact distance from the valet stand to the parking structure and who has optimized his gait to cover it in the minimum time, because the time between taking the keys and returning the car is the metric. The parking structure is 4 levels. No elevator for the valets. The elevator has been broken since November, and the repair is in the maintenance queue, and the maintenance queue prioritizes guest-facing equipment. So the valets take the stairs. 4 levels, 8 flights per round trip, approximately 40 round trips per shift. 320 flights of stairs per shift. The valets' legs know this number. Their knees know this number. The number is in their calves and their ankles and the specific fatigue that builds over an 8-hour shift and that manifests as a heaviness that makes the last hour feel like climbing through water. Kessler's first car is a Porsche Cayenne. The guest hands the keys through the window, doesn't get out, doesn't look at him, hands the keys the way a person hands a toll to a toll collector. Kessler takes the keys. He drives the Cayenne to the third level of the parking structure, stairs because the elevator is broken, parks it, labels the key, jogs back down. 4 minutes and 18 seconds. The target is under 4 minutes. He exceeded it by 18 seconds because his legs aren't calibrated to the stairs yet, and the stairs are the thing that the shift is built on, and the legs are the thing that the stairs are built on, and Kessler's legs are the legs of a man who takes elevators. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, costs nothing, and tells us to keep making stories like this one. Back to the story. Day 2, 9 p.m. The rush. The p.m. shift at the Belmont peaks between 8 and 10, the dinner crowd returning, the event guests departing, the arrivals who flew in late and who pull up to the porte cochere with the specific exhaustion of people who have been traveling for hours and who want exactly 2 things, their room key and their car parked. The valets are running, not figuratively, running. The porte cochere has 6 cars stacked, and the stand has 4 valets, and the math requires that every valet is in motion at all times, sprinting up the stairs because the elevator is broken, driving the car to a spot, sprinting back down, taking the next set of keys, repeating the cardiovascular output of a shift that the hotel calls hospitality, and that the valet's body calls interval training. Kessler's on his 14th round trip. His legs are burning. His dress shirt is damp under the vest that has no pockets, the vest that traps heat, the vest that looks like $1 million and feels like a sauna at 9 p.m. in Phoenix in January, which is cool by Phoenix standards, 62 degrees, but which is not cool when you're running up 4 flights of stairs every 6 minutes. He takes the keys from a woman in a white dress who is stepping out of a Mercedes S-Class. The woman hands him the keys and a $20 bill. The 20 is a good tip. A real tip, the kind that changes the math of the night. Kessler puts the 20 in the tip jar, a shared jar, split evenly at the end of the night, which means the 20 becomes $5 per valet. The tip jar is the system. The system was designed for fairness, equal split, equal share, no valet advantaged by position or timing or the luck of which guest arrives during their rotation. The fairness sounds right in a handbook. On the floor, the fairness feels different. It feels different when Pilar opens a door for a guest who hands her 100, and the 100 becomes 25 because 3 other people were standing at the stand when the guest arrived. The fairness redistributes the gesture. The guest gave Pilar 100 because Pilar opened the door and said, "Welcome to the Belmonte." And Pilar's smile was the thing the guest was tipping, and the smile becomes a quarter of itself by the time the jar is counted. Pilar doesn't complain. Nobody complains. The jar is the jar. But the jar creates a behavior. The behavior is, why try harder than the minimum if the extra effort generates tips that are diluted by 4? The answer for most of the valets is pride, the professional pride that makes Pilar sprint up 4 flights instead of jogging, that makes her open every door with the same composure, whether the guest tips 100 or tips nothing, that makes her say, "Welcome to the Belmonte," 300 times per shift with the same inflection on the 300th as the first. The pride is real. The pride is also uncompensated. The system rewards consistency, not excellence. The jar doesn't know who earned the 100. The jar only knows the total. Pilar is at the stand when he returns. She's just pulled a BMW X5 from the 4th level, the top level, the farthest spot, the stairs that are steepest at the top because the parking structure was designed for cars, not for the humans who run up and down it 320 times per shift. She's breathing hard, but her face is composed. The composed face of a valet who's been trained to appear effortless because effortless is the brand, and the brand is more important than the breathing. How do you do this every night? Kessler asks. Legs get used to it. 2nd week, you stop feeling the stairs. 3rd week, you stop feeling most things. She straightens her vest. The hard part isn't the stairs. The hard part is the people who don't see you. What do you mean? I mean, you stand at the door, you open the car, you say, "Welcome to the Belmonte," and the guest walks past you like you're part of the building, like you're the doorframe or the fountain, your scenery, your set dressing. They see the lobby. They see the waterfall. They don't see the person who just ran up 4 flights to get their car in under 4 minutes. She takes the next set of keys. A Range Rover, a guest who hands the keys without a word, without a tip, without eye contact. Pilar takes the keys and sprints. The Range Rover goes to level 3. Pilar goes up the stairs. The guest goes into the lobby where the waterfall is, the waterfall that cost $400,000, the waterfall that is visible from every angle, the waterfall that every guest photographs and posts, the waterfall that is more visible in one night than Pilar has been in 3 years. Day 3. 11 p.m. The wind down. The rush has passed and the porte cochere has emptied and the valets are standing at the stand with the particular stillness of people who have been sprinting for 4 hours and whose bodies have shifted from motion to waiting, and waiting is harder than running because waiting requires the muscles to hold still and the muscles want to move because moving is what they've been doing, and stillness after motion is the body's version of a cold engine. It doesn't idle well. Pilar's phone buzzes. She has it tucked into her waistband, the dress code violation, the lifeline. She checks it with the speed and discretion of a parent checking a phone that might contain news about a child. The practiced glance that takes 1 second and that she's perfected over 3 years of shifts, where the phone is the only connection to Mateo and the babysitter and the medication schedule and the life that happens while she's parking cars. Her face changes. The change is small, not dramatic, not the face of crisis, but the face of calculation, the face of a woman who has just received information that requires math. She puts the phone back. She stands at the stand. She adjusts her vest. "Everything okay?" Kessler asks. "Yeah, fine." A pause. The pharmacy raised the copay on Mateo's inhaler. It was $75, now it's $90. $90? $90. They said the formulary changed. The insurance company reclassified the medication from Tier 2 to Tier 3. Tier 3 is $90. The medication is the same. The dose is the same. The pill that goes into the machine that makes the mist that goes into my son's lungs so he can breathe. It's the same pill it was last month. But last month it was $75 and this month it's $90 because someone at an insurance company moved it from one column on a spreadsheet to another column on a spreadsheet. And the difference between those two columns is $15, and $15 is the tip from 3 cars that may or may not come tonight. She pauses. The porte cochere is empty. The fountain is running. The waterfall is lit from below, the copper glowing orange in the landscape lights, beautiful and permanent, and worth $400,000. I don't know why I'm telling you this. You're new. You're telling me because it matters. It matters to me. It doesn't matter to the hotel. The hotel doesn't know about the inhaler. The hotel doesn't know about the copay. The hotel knows I park cars fast and I don't scratch the paint, and I smile at the guests and I say, "Welcome to the Belmonte," and my vest is straight and my bun is tight and my earrings are in my locker. The hotel knows the surface. The hotel doesn't know what's under the vest. If Untold Hearts has become part of your week, consider joining the channel membership. A few dollars a month keeps these stories coming. Links are in the description. Now, back to the story. Day 4. The tip. It happens at 8:40 p.m. A guest arrives in a black Escalade. A man in his 60s, silver watch, the polished authority of a person who stays in luxury hotels, frequently enough to treat the arrival as routine. Pilar opens his door. "Welcome to the Belmonte, sir." The man steps out. He reaches into his jacket. He hands Pilar a bill. $100 bill. $100. The largest single tip Pilar has received in 3 years at the Belmonte. "Thank you," Pilar says. Her voice is steady, the steadiness of professionalism, the composure that the training requires, but her eyes move. Her eyes do the math that the $100 bill produces. $100 divided by 4 valets in the tip pool is $25 per person. $25, not $90, not the inhaler, but 25 is 25, and 25 plus whatever else comes in tonight might be enough to cover the gap between the old copay and the new one. But the tip pool is the tip pool. The 100 becomes 25. Unless Pilar puts the 100 in the jar. Kessler watches. She puts the 100 in the jar the way she puts every tip in the jar, automatically, without hesitation, because the jar is the system, and the system is the agreement, and the agreement is that all tips are shared equally among the 4 valets on shift, regardless of who opened the door, regardless of who said "Welcome to the Belmonte," regardless of whose smile earned the 100 and whose son needs the medication that the 100 could pay for. The shift ends at midnight. The valets count the jar. The total for the night, $312, divided by 4, $78 each. A good night, not a great night. A great night is over 100 per person, but a good night, the kind of night that Pilar needs 23 of per month to cover the base expenses that are $11.75 per hour doesn't cover. Pilar takes her $78. She counts it, she folds it. She puts it in the pocket of her jeans, the jeans she changed into in the locker room, the civilian clothes, the clothing that exists below the vest and outside the brand, and in the life where $78 is not a tip pool distribution, but a decision. Groceries, gas, Mateo's inhaler, the electric bill that's due on the 15th, the copay at the pediatrician that she's been postponing because the pediatrician copay is $40, and $40 is the tip from 2 good cars, and the cars might not come. She walks to the employee lot. Kessler walks behind her. The lot is dark. 2 of the 4 light poles are out. The bulbs burned and unreplaced because the maintenance queue prioritizes guest-facing equipment, and the employee lot is not guest-facing. Pilar walks to her car, a Honda Civic, 2011, the paint faded on the hood from a decade of Arizona sun, a child's car seat in the back, the car of a woman who earns $11.75 plus tips at a hotel that charges $4,600 per night. She stops at her car. She turns around. Kent. Yeah. Tonight's your 4th night. You've been running the stairs. You've been taking keys. You haven't complained once. Most new guys quit after 2 nights because the stairs kill their legs and the guests kill their mood. I'm not quitting. Good, because you're actually decent at this. She reaches into her jeans pocket. She pulls out 2 bills, 2 20s, folded together. She holds them out. Huh, what's this? $40 from my share. Why are you giving me $40? Because you said something the other night. You said, it matters. When I told you about the inhaler, you said, it matters. Nobody here says that. Nobody here asks. The front-of-house manager asks about the vest. The guests ask about the car. Nobody asks about the inhaler. You asked. So this is, I don't know what this is, a thank you, or a, just take it. Pilar, I can't take $40 from you. It's fine. I've got the rest. Mateo's inhaler's covered this month. I picked up a Saturday brunch shift at the restaurant across the street. That covers the gap. The 40 is extra. I want you to have it. Kessler holds the 2 20s. He holds them the way you hold something that burns, with the awareness that the thing in your hands is more than what it appears to be. 2 20s. $40. From a woman who earns $11.75 an hour. From a woman whose son's inhaler costs $90. From a woman who works 2 jobs, the valet shift at the Belmonte and a Saturday brunch shift at a restaurant across the street, to cover the gap between the wage the hotel pays and the life the wage is supposed to support. From a woman who is giving him money, giving the billionaire who owns the hotel money because he said, it matters. The 2 20s are the most expensive thing Kessler has ever held. They cost more than the copper waterfall. They cost more than the penthouse. They cost more than the 14 properties and the $820 million in revenue. Because the 2 20s represent a choice that Pilar made. The choice to give away money she earned, money she needs, money that could buy groceries or gas or the $15 copay increase that the insurance company imposed last week. And to give it to a stranger because the stranger acknowledged that her life is real. That is the cost of the 2 20s. That is what Pilar spent. My name isn't Kent, Kessler says. He says it before he plans to say it. He says it the way truths come out, not on schedule, not in the boardroom, not at the prepared moment, but in a dark parking lot with 2 burned-out light poles and a faded Honda Civic and 2 20s in his hand that he cannot keep, because keeping them would be the worst thing he's ever done. My name is Kessler Rohan. I'm the CEO of Belmonte Hospitality. Pilar's hands drop to her sides. Her keys are in her right hand. The keys make a sound, the small metallic sound of keys held by a hand that has gone still. The stillness is not surprise. It's the opposite of surprise. It's recognition, the slow arriving understanding that the thing she suspected without knowing she suspected it, the thing that felt slightly wrong about the new valet who didn't quit after 2 nights, and who asked about the inhaler, and who said, it matters? The thing that was wrong is that the new valet was the person whose name is on the building. You own this hotel, she says. I own this hotel. You've been parking cars for 4 nights. You've been running up those stairs. 320 flights per shift. And I just gave you $40. You did. Silence. The parking lot, the burned out lights, the Civic. The 220s. The $40, Pilar says. That's not, I earned that. I earned every dollar I've given away tonight. I earned it parking cars and running stairs and saying, welcome to the Belmonte 300 times, and smiling at people who don't see me. The $40 isn't charity. It's what I chose to do with the money I earned. And if you're the CEO, then you know what that means. It means the $40 is worth more than anything I've built. It means I need my job. It means Mateo needs his inhaler. It means you're standing in a parking lot with burned out lights next to a dumpster, and this is where your employees start and end their day. So now you know. Now you've seen it. The question is what you're going to do about it. I'm going to do everything. People say that. My mother cleaned rooms, Holiday Inn Express, Tucson, 17 years. She never stayed in a hotel. I started this company so the people who make the hotel would matter as much as the people who stay in it. I wrote that in the first handbook. Every employee is part of the experience. That's what I wrote. And the experience for the employee is a parking lot with burned out lights and a locker room with 40 lockers for 112 people and a broken elevator and a vest with no pockets and an insurance plan that raises the copay on a child's inhaler by $15 and nobody notices. He holds up the 220s. I'm keeping these. Not because I need them, because I need to remember them. These are going in my office, under glass. And every decision I make about this company, I'm going to look at these 220s and ask, is this a decision that a woman who earns $11.75 an hour would respect? Pilar looks at him. She looks at him the way you look at a person who has just changed shape. The same person, the same face, the same voice that said, it matters in the porte cochere 3 nights ago. But the shape is different now. The shape is the shape of the person who owns the building and the waterfall and the tip jar and the broken elevator, and the $11.75 per hour, and the insurance plan that moved Mateo's inhaler from one column to another. Did you know, she asks, before you came here? Did you know about the elevator, the parking lot, the lockers, the copay? I knew the survey scores. I knew the satisfaction was 28%. I didn't know what 28% looks like. I didn't know it looks like 320 flights of stairs and 2 burned-out light poles and a vest with no pockets and a woman giving $40 to a stranger because the stranger was the first person in 3 years who asked about her son. 28%, Pilar says. That's what the survey said? 28. I'm surprised it was that high. She unlocks the Civic. The interior light comes on. Dim, the bulb old, the light that fills a car that costs nothing and contains everything. The car seat, the stroller in the trunk, the spare inhaler in the glove box that Pilar keeps for emergencies, the life that the hotel doesn't see because the hotel's vision stops at the porte cochere. Fix it, she says. Not with a plaque, not with a speech. Fix the elevator, fix the lights, fix the insurance, fix the wage, fix the things that make 28% feel generous. I will. Good, and keep the $40. You earned it. You earned it by showing up. Nobody shows up. The CEO doesn't show up. The managers don't show up. The guests don't show up. They arrive. That's different. You showed up. You ran the stairs. You parked the cars. You asked about the inhaler. That's showing up. $40. She gets in the car. She drives away. The taillights of the Civic are one red and one dim. The left brake light is fading, another repair deferred, another cost absorbed by the body and the budget of a woman who earns $11.75 an hour, plus tips at a hotel that is worth $820 million. The leadership meeting is Thursday morning. Kessler walks in carrying a tip jar, not a metaphorical tip jar, the actual jar from the valet stand, the glass cylinder with the Belmonte logo etched on the side, the jar that collects the tips and distributes them equally, and that is the system through which $400,000 in annual guest gratuities pass, and that determines how much the valets earn on top of the $11.75 that the hotel pays. He sets the jar on the table. This jar collected $312 last Tuesday night, he says. Divided 4 ways, that's $78 per valet. One of those valets has a son with asthma whose inhaler costs $90 a month. The insurance plan we provide, the plan I approved, recently reclassified the medication and raised the copay by $15. Nobody told me. Nobody told anyone. The copay went up because a column on a spreadsheet changed, and the column change raised the cost, and the cost was passed to the employee, and the employee absorbed it the way our employees absorb everything, silently, without complaint. Because complaining isn't in the job description, and the job description is the vest and the smile, and welcome to the Belmonte. He looks at the room. The COO, the CFO, the VP of People Operations, Nadia Ferris, who told him to walk through the service entrance and who is sitting with the expression of a woman who has been describing these problems in PowerPoint slides for 3 years and who is watching them arrive in the boardroom in a tip jar. I parked cars for 4 nights. Here's what I found. The valet wage, $11.75 per hour. The federal tipped minimum in Arizona is $10.85. The hotel pays 90 cents above minimum. The valets run 320 flights of stairs per shift because the elevator has been broken since November. The elevator repair costs $8,000. The hotel's annual flower budget for the lobby, fresh arrangements daily, changed 3 times per week, is $42,000. The elevator costs less than 3 months of flowers. The CFO, a man named Ridley, shifts in his chair. Ridley is the architect of the cost structure that prioritizes guest-facing expenditures over employee infrastructure. Ridley is not a villain. Ridley is a CFO. He manages margins. He manages a 14.2% operating margin that the board expects and that the analysts track, and that determines Ridley's bonus and Ridley's performance review and Ridley's continued employment. The margin is Ridley's job. The margin is also the reason the elevator has been broken for 3 months, and the parking lot has been dark for 4 months, and the locker room has 40 lockers for 112 people. The flowers or the elevator, Kessler says, and he's looking at Ridley when he says it. That's the choice we've been making. We chose the flowers. We chose them 3 months in a row. We chose the thing the guest photographs over the thing the employee climbs. And the thing the employee climbs, the 320 flights of stairs per shift, the 40 round trips, the knees and the calves and the specific pain that develops in the legs of people who run up concrete stairs 8 hours a day. That thing is invisible to us because we enter through the lobby, and the lobby has flowers, and the flowers are beautiful, and the stairs are behind a door that says parking, staff only. Ridley opens his mouth. Kessler holds up a hand. I'm not done. The locker room. 40 lockers for 112 PM staff. The renovation cost to add 72 lockers and install proper ventilation and lighting, $61,000. The rooftop cabana cushions were replaced last spring for $54,000. The parking lot. 2 of 4 light poles burned out. The replacement bulbs cost $180 each. The poles have been dark for 4 months. The liability exposure of an employee injured in a dark parking lot. Immeasurable. The bulb cost, $360. The insurance plan, the pharmacy benefit reclassification that moved Mateo's inhaler from Tier 2 to Tier 3, was an automatic formulary update by the insurance carrier. Nobody at the hotel reviewed it. Nobody at the hotel was notified. The carrier changed the spreadsheet. The copay went up. A 7-year-old's medication became $15 more expensive, and nobody in the building that charges $4,600 per night for a penthouse knew or asked. The vest, no pockets. The brand guideline that prohibits pockets was written by a design consultant who has never parked a car and who does not have a child with asthma and who does not need to keep a phone within reach in case the babysitter calls about a breathing episode. The clean silhouette cost the valets their connection to their families for 8 hours per shift. The clean silhouette costs more than any pocket ever could. Here's what's changing. Base wage, $11.75 becomes $17.50. Effective immediately, all 14 properties. The cost across the system is $3.2 million annually. The company's annual revenue is $820 million. The wage increase is 0.39% of revenue, less than 0.5%. The number that separates the old wage from the new wage is smaller than the rounding error in the quarterly report. The elevator, repaired within 2 weeks. Every maintenance item that affects employee infrastructure is recategorized from non-critical to critical. The maintenance queue no longer distinguishes between guest-facing and employee-facing. A broken elevator is a broken elevator. A burned-out light is a burned-out light. Fix it. The locker room, renovated within 60 days. Lockers for every employee on every shift. Ventilation, lighting, a space that communicates what the company believes about the people who change in it. The parking lot, every light pole in every employee lot at every property inspected and repaired within 1 week. The employee lot is the first thing the staff sees when they arrive, and the last thing they see when they leave. The first and last things matter. The insurance plan, a dedicated benefits coordinator hired to monitor formulary changes and carrier reclassifications. No copay increase goes unreviewed. No medication cost changes without the company knowing and evaluating and, when possible, absorbing. Mateo's inhaler copay. The company covers the difference between the old copay and the new copay for every employee whose child's medication is reclassified. The cost is absorbed by the company. The cost is not absorbed by the parent. The inhaler is not a luxury. The inhaler is the child's ability to breathe. The vest, pockets. The brand guideline is rewritten. The vest gets interior pockets, one on each side, invisible from the outside, the clean silhouette preserved, and the phone accessible. The design consultant is not consulted because the design consultant does not have a 7-year-old with asthma. And the tip pool, restructured. Individual tips go to the individual valet. Pooled tips, the jar, are split equally. But the base wage increase means the tips are a bonus, not a lifeline. The tips supplement a living wage instead of creating one. One more thing, Kessler says. He reaches into his pocket and places 2 folded 20s on the table next to the jar. These 2 20s were given to me by a valet on Tuesday night. She makes $11.75 an hour. Her son has asthma. His inhaler costs $90 a month. She works a second job on Saturdays at a restaurant across the street to cover the gap between what we pay her and what her life costs. And she took $40 of her tip money, money she earned, money she needs, and gave it to me because I was the only person who asked about her son. He picks up the 20s. These are going in every Belmonte lobby, framed, under glass, with a plaque that says, "This is what generosity looks like when you have nothing." A valet gave her tip to a stranger because the stranger asked about her son. And underneath, Belmonte hospitality exists because of the people who wear the vest, run the stairs, and park the cars. They are not the background. They are the hotel. 3 months later, the elevator works. This is the first thing the valets notice. Not the wage increase, not the new lockers, not the pocketed vest, but the elevator. The elevator works because the elevator changes the shift from a cardiovascular event to a job. The elevator eliminates 320 flights of stairs per shift. The elevator gives the valets their legs back. The legs that climbed through water at the end of every shift now walk at a normal pace, and the normal pace is the pace of a person whose body is not being consumed by the building they work in. Pilar is wearing the new vest, interior pockets, both sides. Her phone is in the left pocket. Mateo's school photo is in the right. The earrings stay in her ears now. The grooming guidelines were revised. The bun is still tight. She keeps it that way because she likes it that way, not because a policy requires it. The distinction matters. The choice versus the requirement. The bun is hers now. She doesn't work Saturdays at the restaurant anymore. The Saturday brunch shift, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., 6 hours on her feet carrying plates at a restaurant across the street from the hotel where she parks cars. The second job that covered the gap between what Belmonte paid and what life cost is gone. The wage increase eliminated the gap. The gap was $11.75. The gap was the distance between the hotel's wage and a living wage. The gap required a second job. The second job required 6 hours every Saturday that Pilar was not with Mateo. 6 hours times 52 Saturdays is 312 hours per year, 13 full days per year, that Pilar spent carrying plates at a restaurant to earn the money that the hotel should have been paying her. 13 days of Mateo at the babysitter's instead of at the park. 13 days of soccer games missed and a homework not supervised and bedtime stories not read because the wage was $11.75, and $11.75 is not a wage that allows a mother of a 7-year-old with asthma to work one job. Ras, the tall, quiet valet who calculated the distance to the parking structure, noticed the elevator first. He noticed it the way a body notices the absence of pain, not with celebration, but with confusion. The confusion of a system that has been compensating for a deficit and that suddenly doesn't need to compensate anymore. His knees were the compensation. His knees absorbed 320 flights per shift for months. The elevator removed the 320 flights and his knees said, "Oh." And the "oh" was not gratitude. It was the knees' recognition of the damage that had been done while the elevator was broken and the flower budget was intact and the stairs were the valet's problem, because the valet's problems were behind a door that said, "Staff only." Mateo's inhaler copay is covered, not by Pilar, by the company. The benefits coordinator flagged the reclassification, and the company absorbed the $15 increase and the absorption costs. Belmonte approximately $900 per year for Mateo and approximately $41,000 per year across all employees whose children's medications were reclassified in the same formulary update. $41,000. The lobby waterfall's annual maintenance budget is $38,000. The company spends more maintaining a decorative waterfall than it now spends ensuring that its employees' children can breathe. The locker room is renovated. Every employee has a locker. The ventilation works. The lighting is warm. There's a mirror and a bench, and the room feels like a room that was designed for people rather than a room that was repurposed for storage that happens to contain people. The renovation cost $61,000. The rooftop cabana cushions cost $54,000. The renovation cost $7,000 more than the cushions and provides dignity instead of comfort for guests who are already comfortable. The parking lot is lit, all 4 poles. The bulbs cost $360. 4 months of darkness ended by $360 in a work order. The 220s are framed. Not just at the Palomar, at every Belmonte property, in every lobby near the front desk. 14 frames, 14 plaques, 14 reminders that the hotel is not the waterfall or the cabana or the penthouse. The hotel is the person in the vest. The hotel has always been the person in the vest. Kessler comes to the valet stand once a month, not undercover, openly, in his own clothes, with his own name badge. He parks cars. He runs the stairs. The stairs he doesn't need to run because the elevator works. But the stairs he runs anyway, because the stairs are the memory. The stairs are the calibration. The stairs are the thing that keeps the distance between the boardroom and the porte cochere from growing back to the width it was before he held 220s in a dark parking lot and understood that the hotel he built on his mother's rooms had forgotten what rooms are made of. Pilar is still the lead valet. She was offered a promotion, front desk supervisor, a desk job, no stairs, higher base wage. She turned it down. "The valet stand is the front door," she said. "The front door is where the guest decides what the hotel feels like. I want to be the first thing they see, and I want them to see someone who is seen." She opens the next car door. "Welcome to the Belmonte." The guest steps out. The guest looks at her. The guest sees her. Thank you for watching this story. If it reminded you that the people who open the door deserve the same care as the people who walk through it, share it. Subscribe to Untold Hearts for more stories about the space between the lobby waterfall and the employee parking lot. Tell us in the comments, have you ever given something you needed to someone who needed it more?